This year, the game added in a bunch of new motion offenses. First off, what's some advice you can share to those who may be struggling offensively so far with NCAA Basketball 10?
Offensively, outside of motion offenses, because I think there's sort of two aspects to that. I think people who are struggling offensively, it might be due to the fact that there are some new gameplay mechanics that they're not fully accustomed to. The three biggest things for me that have made the biggest change in how I play the game offensively are just the layup solutions, being able to choose which hand you finish with, and if you want a Euro step or pro hop. Being able to learn how to do that can open up a lot of scoring opportunities and be a lot of fun. I think the off-ball control is another element offensively that once you can master, really opens up a lot of stuff in how you handle and move the ball around the perimeter as well as in transition. You have control over where you want the guys without the ball to go, and I think that changes a lot and opens up a lot for people, or can open up a lot for people offensively if they learn how to make it work for them. And just the freestyle passing, being able to pass when moving in a different direction from where you're heading, it really helps in both, again, in the half court with driving and kicking and in transition in combination with the off-ball control. So I think that's sort of the first level I think that people can start to pick up on that will help them offensively. With regards to motion offense, I think the biggest thing, if people are struggling with that, is one, you can check out the coach's tutorial video in the front end there. That can sort of help just with the basic mechanics if people are not really understanding how it works. The next level to that, I think, is just practice and play a bunch of games. Play games against really low-rated teams so you'll have a little bit more success or what have you. But the biggest thing is practice and just being patient with the offense. These aren't all going to be 1-2 pass plays, quick hitters. There are those options, but there is a pretty deep layer in the motion offense that you need to be patient with. You need to know you have one or two options. You need to wait for the right time to pass the ball. And that just comes with learning an offense and trying it over and over again. And also the idea that you can, as long as these and as deep as these motion sets are, you can still break out of them at any time. And if an opportunity arises to drive or to shoot or to, like I mentioned with the off-ball control, take control off-ball and move someone to where you want them within the offense. But learning the controls, the gameplay mechanics, as well as just practicing the motion offense, trying different ones, and being patient, because there's a lot that's there, but you gotta, just like in real life, you gotta work the ball around, you gotta make the right passes, you gotta have the ball in the hands of your scorers and your playmakers at the right time. I guess one other thing to just tie up wrap up the motion offense stuff is based on, you'll get different sets and different plays being run depending on where the ball and your teammates are situated within your motion offense set. So, for example, you'll get different types of passing options and cuts and plays if you have the ball in a 5-out set. If you're set up in a 5-out set with the ball in the corner, than you will with a 5-out set with the ball at the top of the key. So that's just not so much to help people who are struggling with it the mechanic offensively, but just to help people understand that there are different behaviors for the offense once you sort of get into it that take place dynamically based on ball and player location. So, yeah, there's a lot there. You just got to practice and play, and I think the gameplay experience is fun enough to keep people coming back and trying it over and over again until they get it right.
When you hit the L1 or the left bumper and the motion offense is going and you get the icons, I've noticed that it starts out grayed out on 2 players and then it goes to color. Yeah. This might be a silly question. Now, is the goal for the players, should they try to get the ball to them at the second it goes to color, or should they wait until it becomes a colored icon and then pass the ball? Because I've noticed you get a much better shot and it's kind of a finished part of the play when it goes to the color icon, but I'm unsure, do you want it the exact time, or do you wait until it changes and then pass the ball?
No, it's not as down to the second as, the second it turns yellow or red or lights up on the PS3 controls. It doesn't have to be the exact second that it changes. It's sort of just saying now when it lights up that now is the optimal time, pass him the ball. It's sort of up to you when you want to get it to him. Different in different cases. For example, if you're getting one of those guys running a big baseline curl, you want to sort of wait until he's close to the three-point line so that when you hit him, he's going to play a nice step into the shot animation and be outside the three-point line where you can shoot it. So yeah, I guess in answer to your question, it's not right down to the millisecond where it pops up. It's just saying that when it is lit up, that's an optimal time. But you can also factor into that where you want him to be when he catches the ball, when you pass it to him, because there's going to be some different factors in, success on where he gets the ball there at the end.
You mentioned a big baseline cut, and I had a game today where a player did that and hit a three to send the game into overtime for me. But that brings me to the next question I want to ask. Does the game reward or give boost? And I hate to use that word because it can be construed in a arcade way, and I don't mean it that way. But does it give kind of a boost to open shooters if you pass it to a man who's finished a cut coming off a screen? Do you get any kind of boost for that? Because I've noticed that just like in real life, the shot percentage seems a lot higher when I hit a man in those situations.
There is a little, but the biggest part of the increased success in running these sets is just getting a guy open and shooting an open jumper. Shooting a jumper or a shot when you're challenged, you have a guy attempting a block while you're shooting the jumper, will decrease the percentage of times that it will go in. So try to be as true to life as possible, where the boost, if you want to call it that, just comes in the fact that you're shooting an open jumper as a result of running a good offensive set.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. With the new motion offenses, what's your favorite one personally to use in the game?
I have two. My favorite one to run, for fun factor, I like the 5-out, just because I got the key wide open so that if I do want to penetrate to the hoop, then I'm probably not going to have to run into a post defender who's coming off of his check and down in the block and have to face a collision or have to try and lay up around him or dunk on top of him. I also really like the type of perimeter motion that the 5-out gets, again, with nice cuts to the open lane, so that if I do see a guy going to the hoop, that I know he's going to have a lesser chance of running into someone in the paint. I also really like Princeton. This is sort of more when I'm playing, if I want to play a half-court game, slow it up. I really like the formation and the style of the Princeton, just how it's not your standard offense. You don't see it all the time. I've never really played with it before or knew much about it before I was working on 10. I also like the fact that it brings guys away from the hoop. It alleviates a lot of pressure that I find I run into when I'm trying to run half-court sets and run the clock down and make the defense work. It's a little more difficult to do that when I'm in something like a 5-out or a flex where there's lots of passing in and around the key. So it sort of gives me that sort of freedom to not be as pressured. I also like the fact that in the Princeton, like I mentioned, I didn't really know that much about it or with regards to how it worked. So it's kind of like my opponents, when I play online, might not be sort of ready for, where the cuts are going to come from or where the guys are going to be spotting up or where the next pass is going to, just because it is a very, very unique style of offense. And I feel that sometimes that can be an advantage over someone who isn't familiar with it. Those are my two favorites. But that being said, I think there's unique and interesting parts of all of them. They all got the same amount of love with regards to the amount of motion and the sets and the cuts that are all in there, and they're all equally effective in different ways. But, Princeton and the 5-out, I think, are my two favorites.